Times have changed, and we want you to change. We want you to accept the realities of today's situation.
Everybody seems to be pointing their finger at someone else, and I do sympathize with you in regards to the state legislature apparently overspending. But as you're pointing your fingers at them, they are pointing their fingers at someone else. No one is willing to say they're accountable. No one is willing to say the buck stops here. The only thing I know is where the buck starts.
Again, District 30, Local 6328, Jose Soto, President. Coordinator of the campaign that we're leading against Armco, Carl Norris. Olivets from Safety and Health. And from District 20, another director from District 30, Frank Vickers. Another director from District 33, Dave Foster.
The financing package will keep Northwest in the air and out of bankruptcy.
Had they not gotten this loan, I think the company probably would have had to file Chapter 11 before the beginning of March.
Northwest values the total package of loans and concessions at $2.2 billion, but its new credit line will be just $250 million from a group of lenders including KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, which already owns nearly half of Northwest, as well as General Electric and Airbus Industry.
All the players who are putting in the new money are what you would call stakeholders. Those people who already have a big stake or a lot of money loaned to Northwest.
Northwest is getting plenty of concessions as well. Bankers Trust is letting Northwest put off repayment of $340 million in loans. Unions are offering a total of $900 million in concessions over 3 years, though that has yet to be finalized. And Northwest has gotten $730 million in financing to take delivery of new aircraft, though it is canceling or delaying purchase of $6.2 billion in other aircraft. Northwest needs all the help it can get. Like other airlines, it has been losing millions and has had trouble paying back the debt on its 1989 leverage buyout.
No one wanted to give Northwest any more money, but the airline's creditors saw what happened with Pan Am and Eastern, as well as Continental, TWA, and America West, where creditors are getting peanuts. So the thinking is a little more investment in Northwest will prevent another financial crash landing.
For NBC News, I'm Alan Chernoff.
certainly by putting our Kiwanis name on our event, want to let everyone know that it's important to participate in your community, to make things special, and to give something back to the community.
Right here, it's no.
So have you made any arrests at all?
We've offered the reward, hoping that somebody will tell us something to give us some idea of who we're looking for and what.
Senior high, and I had the class as a junior. My teachers on my personal voyage were sixth graders with ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
The window of that future, even though a bit frosted, is here in Minnesota.
Thank you.
People in community education here in the Minneapolis public schools.
Well, it's a good way of teaching. It's learning by doing and giving. Young people are out there doing something. They're doing water testing on the St. Louis River. They're doing water testing on the Mississippi River, and they're doing something actively. They're interested in it. They're excited. Schooling has meaning and purpose when you use your knowledge in a constructive way. That's why young people are involved. Everybody needs to be needed, and young people are no exception. And so this is a way you can learn at the same time that you can be useful.
Or attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Window of that future, even though a bit.
Louis River, they're doing water testing on the Mississippi River, and they're doing something actively. They're interested in it. They're excited. Schooling has meaning and purpose when you use your knowledge in a constructive way. That's why young people are involved. Everybody needs to be needed, and young people are no exception. And so this is a way you can learn at the same time that you can be useful.
About 6 o'clock last night. We had just finished supper, and a friend of mine had called and said the school was on fire, and we came down right away. But we couldn't do nothing, so we just stood and watched.
Before their own eyes, the crowd watched 66 years of history go up in flames. Today, they painfully inspected the remains.
A lot of sadness, a lot of sadness, a lot of good memories here. Two of my kids went to school here, and we're going to miss it. We had a lot of fun here, so it's too bad.
But the image of the blaze was still etched in their minds.
Last night it was a mixture of laughter and tears. We'd be talking and we'd talk about the fun things that happened here, and then that'd start us crying again, and then we'd finish crying, and we could talk more about the fun things. It's a bit of my history, and it's a bit of history for a lot of the children in this neighborhood that went to this school, and now it's gone for them. It's really hard. We were a small school, and we were a very close school. We were a family, which was nice about the name Holy Family, because that's what we were, was a family. And now our kids have lost what they had, so.
All that remains now at the Holy Family Catholic School is a shell of a building, and even that probably won't be around much longer. But former students and faculty say no matter what happens to that building, their memories will keep the school alive. In Duluth, Janine Johnson, News 6.
And the results were rather surprising. We expected to see approximately 5 to 10% of patients develop Lyme disease after a tick bite. But in fact, what we found was that the rate of infection was closer to 1%. Lyme disease can also get cancer. They can also get multiple sclerosis. Patient, doxycycline is probably the preferred drug.
It's a good thing when people can help, stick together and help each other and help the communities too.
General approach to the business. There has been and will be developed. But the Waste Association members have not opposed further study. They have not opposed a reasonable review of financial data, which would be required to be presented in any kind of rational decision regarding rates for collection.
After 2 years of fighting the system, Dan and Nancy Nelson went to the top, so to speak. Attorney General Skip Humphrey agreed to meet with the Nelsons at Mesabi Community College in Virginia today to help resolve in any way he could, resolve the issues connected with the contaminated water at the Nelsons' now bulldozed restaurant in Eveleth.
To the extent that the state of Minnesota has a role to play in that, it should address it as directly as possible, and it should not allow a complication of one or two agencies' concerns to get in the way of doing that job.
The complications faced by the Nelsons through the legal process has been almost nothing compared to dealing with state agencies designed to help people.
We didn't get one agency that said, yes, I'll find some help for you. And they made you almost like you had done something wrong. It has caused me to fight, and it's caused me to want to make changes. And I know change doesn't come easy. You usually have to fight if you want a change to come.
How do you remedy an injured body? How do you take care of someone who obviously has suffered personally, financially?
The parties responsible for the contamination are still being sorted out, and months in court are still ahead for the Nelsons.
They obviously need to have some closure on this. They need to have a sense of confidence that people are there advocating and fighting for their interests. And at the same time that a determination is being made finally as to who is responsible.
For nearly 2 years, Dan and Nancy Nelson have been left in the dark dealing with state agencies. Now they say their case will be brought to light in the eyes of state officials, and they can get on with their lives. In Virginia, Derek Hines, News 6.
State. I think the centennial of Hibbing will be the biggest event in Minnesota next year.
People in Hibbing are certainly not modest, but then they have a lot to be proud of. It's the largest city in Minnesota. A trip around town is like a trip back in time.
We were very fortunate to have mining companies investing extensively in the community, and they've left lasting landmarks. And they did not build things cheaply. They went for quality, and 100 years later, those are some of the most beautiful buildings on the range still.
It's also home to the world's biggest open-pit iron ore mine. But according to those that brave the winters and relish the summers, it's the people that make it great.
We managed to fight like heck, but still get together and get things done occasionally, and that's kept us surviving for 100 years, and also has produced some outstanding leaders.
Like Rudy Perpich and Kevin McHale, and Bob Kitchen, who's been planning Hibbing's centennial celebration for nearly 5 years.
Everybody knows each other by first name. If they don't, they smile anyhow and shake hands. And then I like the people of Hibbing.
They're raising the tent and warming up the concessionaires' trailers, looking for a crowd of nearly 6,000. So everyone's getting ready for the big celebration tonight. If it looks cold out here, well, it is, but everyone promises that as the sun goes down and these bonfires go up, the temperature will rise too.
It's going to be warm. Believe me, it'll be nice.
In Hibbing, Heather Filkins, News 6.
There's nothing I could do. Everything went up. I just grabbed the kids and got out of the house.
It sounds all well and good, but you can cause more damage sometimes by taking a blowtorch at it because it's easy to catch your house on fire.
My hands will start.
I'm looking for an employer payroll tax for quarters. I'm doing a fellow's business returns, and we don't have those. I don't know what the number is on them.
Residents arrive by the busload and carloads, and many of them understandably shaken and scared.
I started noticing about 7 o'clock, and my husband couldn't believe me. He thought I was kidding, and finally we heard it over the radio, and we grabbed the dog and went.
I do want to commend you very much, Mayor and Chief,
for a job very, very well done.
We all fought long and hard to get this Airbus facility here in Duluth.
And then came the long-awaited moment, the breaking of the ground.
But now that it has come to be, now that the ground has been broken and the project is reality, there's just this enthusiasm, this outpouring of emotion.
Well, we've lived with uncertainty for quite a few years and hoping for the best, but I think now it's turned into reality, the worst-case scenario. And the effects are across such a broad spectrum. They affect virtually every business function, every construction, or any new development to come into the area.
The SWAT team was called to the scene and prepared to storm the house. They were able to remove the young woman from the deck, but discovered she was already dead. With the family and the victim out of the house and out of the line of fire, the SWAT team prepared to go in and get the shooter.
Jurors got a taste of how graphic testimony will be today during opening statements as both attorneys presented their version of that horrifying night when Melissa Johnson left to walk her friend's dog, never to return again.
Not only will the diocese not tolerate any sexual misconduct, these people will also